Starting on my driver's side, going from left to right, top to bottom. My coolant reservoir is properly mounted and secure. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. The fluid is between the minimum and maximum level. The cap is on tight and it's not leaking. My hoses are properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken. Not missing any hardware. There are no abrasions, bubbles, cuts, dry rots, or frays, and they're not leaking. My hose clamps are all properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken, not missing any hardware. Behind my engine block is my power steering pump and my air compressor. They're both properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken, not missing any hardware. They're both gear driven and they're not leaking. Moving down, my water pump is properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. It's belt driven and it's not leaking. Next to it is my water pump belt. It's properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. If I pulled against it, I could pull but 3/4 of an inch of play on my belt. There are no abrasions, bubbles, cuts, dry rots, or frays. My oil dipstick is properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. To check my level, I will pull it out, wipe it clean, reinsert it, pull it back out to check for the proper oil level. My power steering reservoir is properly mounted and secure. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. My fluid is between minimum and maximum fill level. The cap is on tight and it's not leaking. My power steering hoses, I have 1, 2, 3 hoses. They're properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken, not missing any hardware. There are no abrasions, bubbles, cuts, dry rots, or frays, and they're not leaking. My power steering gearbox is properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken, not missing any hardware, and it's not leaking. My shock absorber is properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken, it's not missing any hardware, and it's not leaking. Right here is my front spring mount, and behind my tires, my rear spring mount. They're both properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken, not missing any hardware. Here are my leaf springs. They're properly mounted and secure, they're not cracked, bent, or broken, they're not missing any hardware, and my springs are not shifted. On my springs are my U-bolts. They're properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken, not missing any hardware. On my bolts, I don't have any shiny threads or any rust, which will indicate looseness or any cross thread. This part of my suspension system I can mention is one unit, which has several components. My pitman arm, my drag link, my upper and my lower control arm, my tie rod, which is under my springs, my 3 castle nuts, and my cotter pins are all properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken, not missing any hardware. Onto my braking system. My brake chamber and my C-clamp are properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken, not missing any hardware, and they're not leaking. My brake hose is properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. There are no abrasions, bubbles, cuts, dry rots, or frays, and it's not leaking. My push rod and my slack adjuster are both properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken, not missing any hardware. With the brakes released, I couldn't pull but an inch of slack. Moving behind my tire to my brake drums and my brake linings. They're properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken, not missing any hardware. My brakes are not worn dangerously thin. There's no oil, grease, or debris on my brakes or my linings. Moving to my tire. My tire is evenly worn throughout. My tread depth is 4/32 in each groove. It's properly mounted and secure. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. My tire is properly seated against my rim. There are no abrasions, bubbles, cuts, dry rots, or frays, and it's not leaking. My rim is properly mounted and secure. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. There are no illegal holes or wells in my rim or no signs of any rust trails. My valve stem is properly mounted and secure. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware, and it's not leaking. To check my tire pressure, I will insert a tire gauge in to check for the recommended tire pressure. My lug nuts are properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken. They're not missing any hardware. There's no sign of rust or any shiny threads, which would indicate looseness or any cross threading. My hub oil seal is properly mounted and secure. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware, and it's not leaking, and it is at the between minimum and maximum fill level. And that is Section A of the pre-trip inspection.